structure, and you had to answer with a bunch of creatures. The Simic decks really only play the one way. It's like a mid-range value game with some ramping and some card advantage. But it's not asking you to play two extremely different games at the same time. So even if the cards are still individually very powerful, you can be much more precise in how you're in with the terms of engagement against them.
We are looking at our next match here, folks. Masaru Abe is playing Is It Aggro against Alexander Gordon Brown, who we saw a little bit earlier during Gottlieb's and Majors' rounds, playing Sultai Ramp, but a different take on the deck with some more counter magic and some more different types of interaction. This Is It Aggro deck is starting to pick up a little bit in popularity. I will say that. I've been playing up against it quite a bit on the ladder on Magic Arena. We got Riddle Form, Brazen Borrower, Samet Sprints, Dreadheart Arcanist, Crash Throughs, that new blue creature on the cheapie. I can't. Stormwing Entity. Excuse me.
Which I'm actually seeing a little bit of Pioneer as well.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense in Pioneer when you've got it's kind of easier to do, and then I've been seeing it in Modern when I dabble in that format as well. Which I think it's a cool card. And I think like Riddle Form is a cool card. Is like, obviously it's not overpowered or anything like that. You got to work for it, but the payoff appears to be worth it, as there's another copy of Riddle Form drawn. So we're underway here in game number 1 of round number 5 of our championship qualifier.
Yep, you're just setting up terms of engagement that most people are not prepared for in game number 1, and it's not like your cards are particularly weak compared to other aggressive analogs.
Temple of Epiphany, top part is a mountain, so we're going to see where that's going to go. Got a deck list here of, Dreadheart Arcanist, Storming Entity, 4 of both of those, 4 Shocks, 2 Unsummons, 2 Brazen Borrowers, 4 Riddle Forms, 4 Sprite Dragon. Love that card. And there is that mountain. Here comes another Riddle Form, so we're just Riddle Form flooded. Turn them on! I mean, this could be this could actually be a pretty quick game, because taking a look at Alexander's hand, it's bad. It's not good.
I mean, Shark Typhoon that's very slow and not big enough, and Aether Gust with nothing to do, and some lands.
Are we giving beatdowns? Oh, we're about to give beatdowns, I'm sure. Are we gonna? Oh, we're gonna sprint it up. Well, we might have to Aether Gust that, which is not the ideal use of Aether Gust, but it's better than nothing. Yeah, it's better. Well, you said it much more eloquently than I.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have to Gust there because it comes at the expense of cycling your Triumph, but in either event, Gordon Brown just in a ton of trouble.
Take a look at the draw step, Hydroid Crisis. Well, you can play that for 2, draw a card and gain a life, but that doesn't line up very well against the old Riddle Forms here. So Crash Through. Let's turn up the heat. Trigger these Riddle Forms, all 3 of them. A 1, a 2, 3. Crash Through. Gonna give him Trample. Draw a card. Mountain. I mean, I'm feeling a little frisky. Part of me wanted to play Brazen Borrower and then sprint it, but that'd probably be horrible. So let's just do this. And
then
I don't
think
you need to... Look.
Your position's pretty good. I don't think you need to go for broke.
Feeling a little frisky, bud.
Your creatures have trample anyway. The shark can't really chump block even.
Look, nothing you're saying is wrong. I just kind of want to go for broke, man. We're going to bounce this token. Get it out of the way. Yeah, we're done. Okay. Well, Masaru Abe wins game 1 real fast. So they're going to get to sideboarding, and I'm going to tell you about the Star City Games news department. If you go to the homepage of Star City Games, right at the top, if you're on mobile, it's the first thing you're going to see. If you are on desktop or a laptop or some sort of computer device, top left-hand corner underneath our marquee is where you're going to find the Star City Games news department. Myself, Nick Miller, and on the very far right, John Hall. We are doing your daily news updates, your top stories, your SCG Tour updates, your events, your previews of new cards like we just got done doing for Double Masters, as well as unveiling and recapping everything for Amonkhet Remastered, which of course added to Historic. And don't forget that with Zendikar Rising preview season coming up in just a couple of short weeks, we'll be updating and recapping all of the previews that do happen every single day. So if you're looking to keep up with all of your Magic the Gathering news, StarCityGames.com, that news department is where you'll find myself, Nick, and John giving you all your updates right now on our news section. We got the update from Magic Esports. They updated their key upcoming events. They have the details there. We're always recapping Gavin Verhey's fantastic work with Good Morning Magic, which he does 3 times a week. and a whole bunch more. So I'll just let you check that out. But if you're looking for Magic News, we are the place to go, or at least we're trying to be. So make sure you check that out. And then, as we take a look at the sideboards in front of us, Patrick, is it Beatdown deck in Standard?
Well, we saw that the marquee deck of the format, at least at this point, Sultai Ram, is extremely vulnerable to enchantments in game number 1. There's just not a whole lot of answers. Those riddle forms are also great at assailing planeswalkers if the game happens to be about that. And I mean, that was not there was a lot of riddle forms drawn that game, but that wasn't like a particularly explosive draw. No. And the game was still not competitive.
Yeah, that was a very one-sided affair. No argument there at all. So these players are going to take a look at their opening hands. We're going to send that first one back. Second one, no. Looks like actually yes. We're going to hope that Temple of Epiphany ties them together. And actually it's a mulligan to 5, so yeah, not going to go any lower than that. So not ideal here for Mazaru Abe. Mountain the draw, Temple the play, trigger, top card, stay on top. That's an island, and we're going to pass it back over. That's a mountain. And we're not going to go to Dreadhorde Arcanist just yet. This is a forest. That is an Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath. Very nice card to play on a clean battlefield. Draw your card, gain your life, put a Fabled Passage on the battlefield, and keep on humming along. This might be a crash through into Storming Entity. We'll have to see. Unsubstantiated was the draw. A personal favorite card of mine. Here is the Arcanist. With Miscast at the ready. Miscast, a card we haven't seen much of. In older formats, there are better options available. Something like a Spell Pierce, of course. But in this format, it might be okay. Counter-target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 3.
Well, this might actually be better than Spell Pierce here against 4 mana and a 2 mana removal spell.
Yeah. There's the Temple of Epiphany. That's your draw. Temple, let's trigger it. Let's take a look, Ski, shall we? Scry, Temple of Epiphany. That top card, that's going to stay on top. Now we're going to go crashing through. This is just going to draw a card. Nothing too exciting there. Actually, excuse me, that top card went on the bottom. Sprite Dragon was the draw. And here comes your removal spell.
Better than Spell Pierce.
Better than Spell Pierce, indeed. There is Eliminate. Now, are we going to fight over this is the question. I think it's worth it to fight. So here is Miscast, doing a better than Spell Pierce impersonation. Fabled Passage will be sacrificed in response. And it looks like we're probably going to get a Heartless Act here. So what this is, Patrick, is it's a 2 for 2. But it requires both removal spells to be played. So if you are Mazaru Abe at a mulligan to 5, it feels kind of like a win, I guess.
I mean, it's painful just because, you know, the clock's ticking here. You know that Gordon Brown, once at 5 mana, has no end of powerful plays to be making. And that Dreadhorde Arcanist getting a crash through back could have started to recoup that mulligan a little bit. This deck, like most spell-based tempo decks that are aggressive, plays very poorly from behind. And so even though the exchange on mana and cards was good for Abe, you just needed to get a little bit more out of that Dreadhorde Arcanist, I think, to pull back into this one.
Well, Hydroid Krasis is on the battlefield. Sprite Dragon came down. But now this is where Sultai Ramp shows its power. All this mana available. Shark Typhoon at the ready. Narset Parter Avails is a little late to this party. A good, I'd actually argue, great weapon against these Sultai strategies, but not right now.
Yeah, it's, you know, how are you able to play defense with this sort of a deck?
Oh, Narset's in. Oh, look at this motley crew. Riddle Form, Miscast, and Samwood Sprint. It looks like it's going to be Miscast. That'll be the selection. Shark Typhoon's going to come on down. Okay. Mystical Dispute, the draw. Aether Gust. Well, those are two nice cards to find right now. This is a Nissa who's going to shake that there world and double that there mana. That's in there. Game's getting tough. Gonna untap a Zagoth Triome.
And the last little bit of this is that Gordon Brown's also at 24. So we're not even in the type of game state where, well, maybe there's a way with an unsummon and a haste creature to sneak the last couple points off. Well, game just got too far away from Abe there. The double removal spell there on the Arcanist, that was the inflection point of the game, and Gordon Brown's just been running downhill since.
Yeah, we're not doing any racing here, folks. Goodbye, Narset. Now, the cards in hand are somewhat interesting. And then Substantiate and Unsummon. Let's see what this is going to be. That'll be Ether Gust. Now, you can miscast. Municipal Dispute is going to take care of that. And I think right now, if I'm Mazzaro Abe, I mean, I don't know how I get back into it. I just feel like I'm so far behind because now much Bright Dragon. I'm putting that on the bottom from the Gust. It was already just going to be a 1/1 anyway, so I have to entirely rebuild. And as good as Stormwing Entity is, it's not as good as the other cards on the other side of the battlefield. So, our Is It Aggro player is going to concede, and let's get ready for G3, shall we? While we do that, let's talk about Double Masters, official playmatch you can order now at StarCityGames.com/2XM. You can order all your Double Masters products there. It's cards, singles, sealed product. But don't forget about these very awesome and unique playmats as well. Again, order today, StarCityGames.com/2XM. For our Is It Aggro player, obviously Mulligan of 5 is going to make things difficult no matter play or draw, but given that they are on the play here for game number 3, not a bad place to be against this Sultai ramp/control deck, especially with what our Is It Aggro player deck is bringing to the battlefield and to the table, insofar as he wants to play a tempo strategy with these bounce spells and some timely counter spells, Patrick.
Well, miscast play versus draw is a huge difference, because if you're on the front foot, Gordon, it's much harder for Gordon Brown to play around it. When you're on the back foot, you know, you have to take that turn off. You saw in the previous game with Abe not playing the Arcanist on turn 2 to try to set it up on turn 3, which let Gordon Brown double removal spell on the miscast exchange. On the play, all of this looks so much different.
Well, we're looking at a pretty good hand here for Mazzaro Abe. I got a Sprite Dragon, a Riddle Form, and a bunch of other goodies going on here. So there's your beatdown for 1 in the air. Curious if you're supposed to start with a Dragon or the Riddle Form. I think the makeup of the hand means that you probably want to start with the Dragon. So there's the Heartless Act to take care of the Dragon. And now an Unsummon is the draw. So this hand is a little bit disjointed. I mean, obviously, these tools can all work. Unsummons in certain spots can be good. Shocks in certain spots can be good. But it's coming together a little bit awkwardly right now. Here's Sprite Dragon. And this is a really good spot for Ether Gust because, I mean, part of you wants to draw that card, but part of you says, I need something new. So here comes Hydroid Crisis.
Yeah, the problem now is that the hand's a little unwieldy to leverage with Riddle Form because it's just reactive. You're not super into things like just shock you to deal 3, not a great exchange. The unsummons play a little awkwardly here too. So, Abe's just got to find something a little bit more proactive to get the ball rolling with.
Well, step 1 is shock that, gets you for 3, right? So that's not the worst turn. Drawing the Stormwing Entity there is obviously a little bit awkward. Now, if you draw a land next turn, that's not so bad. Can maybe unsummon a threat and then play the entity and kind of play that kind of game. And meanwhile, as we can see Alexander Gordon Brown's hand, it's not really coming together all that well. Just going to cycle Triumph, pick up a copy of Eliminate. That's fairly timely. I mean, it doesn't look so bad here. There's a Island, pass that turn back. Substantiate, it's not exactly what the doctor ordered, and you can't even play that entity. So all he can do is pass the turn back and watch Gordon Brown draw a copy of Eat to Extinction. Narset the draw. Boy, it's not coming together well here for our Is It player. Not at all.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of cards here like Unsubstantiate and Unsummon, which sort of assume that you're going to be on the front foot. They're not like universally good against Sultai Ramp. And they're not particularly powerful cards of their own in absolute terms. They can be good if you can play on a fast enough timeline that Gordon Brown is just forced to play stuff at inopportune times. But when you're just playing draw go, you're not going to be able to manage the game that way.
Well, here's Hydroid Crisis. Yep, unsub. This is the most painful and substantiate of all time, but you gotta do it. Which is bounce that thing, the life gain, the card draw happens. Alexander Gordon Brown's hand is so full that discarding is now an option. So, miscast is drawn. Here comes Narset, obviously incredibly late to this party. Going to trigger the Riddle form. That's going to come in for 3. Going to knock AGB down to 17. Narset will tick down to 3. Take a look at the top couple. Shock is, fine. Not exactly what the doctor ordered, but better than nothing. Negate the draw here for a Sultai ramp player.
Yeah, shock is not the worst thing because it's just something you can do aggressively, no questions asked. But it's also just, again, not very powerful. Recurring theme.
Yeah. Opt to the draw. Let's see how much mana available here for. Fine, a lot is the answer. The answer is there's a lot of mana available. Optal Yellow Steam Vents. Riddle form is on. Going to pay the 2 life naturally, bringing Abe down to 18. Here comes the 3/3. I can see, and even starting. I was going to say even just starting with Brazen Borrower isn't so bad.
No. Just test the waters.
Yeah.
It's gonna get some sort of response almost certainly. So.
Yeah, just because it simply has to. So, all right, going to try to shock you. Riddle form will turn on again. Still a 3/3. Here comes Eliminate. All right, well, miscasted. So how about negate?
And I think from Gordon Brown's perspective, especially at 15, you can care about these exchanges or not, but a lot of this is just getting Abe to put the shields down. If Abe commits all their mana into combat this turn, then you get to untap and you have a huge crisis. Your draw step could yield something big. It's just take it or leave it. If you get the trade here, great. If not, no big deal.
Yeah, and it's not like this is a lethal attack. This is an attack to bring Alexander Gordon Brown down to 12, right? So it's just not the end of the world at all. So I 100% agree with you. Here comes an Overgrown Tomb untap down to 10. Hydroid Crisis coming up, folks. It's going to be for a lot. Don't know if it's going to be the full amount, but it will be. So the Jellyfish is going to draw a whole bunch of cards. Brazen Borrower, Overgrown Tomb, Breeding Pool, and Heartless Act as we head back over to Mazaru Abe, who's drawn a copy of Dreadheart Arcanist. Narset, you're a little late. But you are in there nonetheless. Trigger, let's take a look at those top couple of cards. Crash Through. Well, it's going to take a lot more than that to get through an 8 Hydroid Crisis. And, we're going to unsub, boy. It's painful.
It definitely sucks, but also what else are you going to do? You can't say go. As long as your Narset's on the battlefield, your opponent recasting a Crisis as their turn is like it's something, but it doesn't matter all that much.
No, this is just what you got to do, right? Like, this is where it starts. Now, Brazen Borrower is, again, going to bounce that Narset, and that's going to open up...
Right.
Go ahead.
Now this is a catastrophe, right? If you could keep the Narset on the battlefield, then you're kind of in the same spot next turn. Maybe you could be more mana efficient and finagle the game that way, but now you're just going to get buried by extra cards.
Yeah, now it looks tough, so we're going to head back over to Mazaru Abe. 11-18. Again, I don't think it's impossible. I mean, we are looking at an opponent here, and Alexander Gordon Brown, who can just keep right on casting Hydroid Crises, but didn't do it that time. So, we'll start with Crash Through. Riddle form's on. Draw a card. Raking Claws. I'm going to do a quick search on that one. Don't mind me if you're going to be typing.
I think that's it's Kill a Flyer or Shatter.
Close. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn.
Does it cycle?
Yes.
What am I thinking of? A Braid? Whatever, who cares?
You were close. That's okay. Heartless Act is going to take care of Riddle form. Here comes Narset. For about the 100th time this match. Trigger, take a look. Riddle form. Hello, don't mind if I do, Ski. But no creature on the battlefield, I think, to close out this turn is a bit of a bummer. So here comes Brazen Borrower. We're thinking. I thought maybe we were thinking the good game emote. Maybe not just yet. How about 2 Brazen Borrowers?
We were thinking emoting on the first one. Oh,
we're emoting on this one.
yes. Yes, be mad about it.
Yeah.
Communicate your frustration through the medium of emotes.
There you go. That's what the cool kids do.
I like the thanks as a response.
Yeah, it's interesting. The emote selection that MTG Arena has. I mean, could write a whole article about it, really.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the kind words. I elected to craft and then play with this card. So,
yes.
I'm proud.
Here is Uro, Titan Nature's Wrath. It has been hardcast, has not escaped jail just yet, but it looks like it's about to. Again, the appeal of this Sultai ramp deck, folks, is it's powerful. Everything might not line up appropriately, it might not line up correctly or perfectly, but sometimes in Magic, when your cards are so strong, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, here's the thing. The game's really random. You don't curve out every single time. You don't always have the perfect cards. And there's a lot to be said for, I'm going to make the game a little choppy and messy and then just have better 5-mana cards than you do. That is not a bad strategy.
We're on the battlefield alongside Brazen Borrowers. Oh boy. I've cast quite a few unsubstantiates this year. Mostly on Supreme Verdicts. And let me tell you.
No, that's nice.
That was what I just saw on that Euro. That was hard to watch.
Yeah, I mean, unsubstantiating a Supreme Verdict sounds sweet and occasionally powerful.
Oh, it's good.
Unsubstantiating and unsummon just creatures with enters the battlefield triggers or like adventure creatures that just come with an unsummon attached on the way back.
Less good.
Less powerful.
Yeah,
with your opponent at 15, less powerful.
Riddle form. Used all of our mana. Is this going to be an Ether Dust? Okay. Dreadheart Arcanist. Kindly leave. Oh, this again. Neat.
Well, that's what you get for unsubstantiating it. What do you think was going to happen?
Time to sacrifice a Fabled Passage. That's a basic. That's a Nissa. That card's powerful. And yeah, so we get to do Nissa into Krasis into just bury you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
8/8. Haven't activated that yet.
Where are the emotes? Someone's got an emote here.
There's less emotes this turn, it appears. Here's some healthy beatdowns.
I guess the game speaks for itself at this point.
I suppose it does. Storming Entity in the house. Let's talk about it. Really good with Metamorphose. Uh-oh, you want an emote, partner. You got it. A GG. Well, that was a lie. Good game. That was not true. Yep. We're still...
Oh, you said good game and then you had more left over?
Oh.
Rude.
Yeah. Now the good game is a lie. Now it's not. I guess we just wanted to see what the top 2 cards were. Sometimes I get that issue.